So there's a guy here at the skate park at 6:30 in the morning, 6:35 in the morning. That's dedication right there. Yeah, 6:30 in the morning. He's getting it after it. See, now that feels like a lot of fun. I was only going basically double the speed limit, but it feels like a lot of fun. I don't really need more than that. Man, I was gonna say something about the I'm sure people saw that building that came down. I was so surprised. I turned on the news like a couple weeks ago, and it looked like a building just got like, it collapsed. It wasn't that it was even exploded, or imploded, or they didn't demolish it. It literally just collapsed, and I think, or I pretty much know everyone died. There's no surviving that. It's almost like the same as being like a fly and having someone, basically clap. You're not gonna make it out of that. You're compared to a 12-story building. A 150-pound or 200-pound person is going to be absolutely crushed by, thousands and thousands upon hundreds of thousands of pounds of concrete that are all collapsing. There's a lot of energy in that, and that is going to be, it's a very sad thing. All those people that are living in that building, and all of a sudden the thing just comes crashing down. It's very sad. And from the looks of it, it looks like there was reports that things were kind of not up to code, and largely they went unnoticed, or no one did anything about it. And there you go. That's what happens. Whole thing comes crumbling down like a Las Vegas casino that they're imploding. It's very, very, very sad story. I mean, all those people die, all their families are affected. I'm sure there were a bunch of pets in there, and all their possessions are gone. I'm sure a lot of people, their cars were destroyed, people that didn't even live there probably. So what are you gonna do though? I mean, from the looks of it, it's like, I think there was people that own the building, and they probably, the government there, from the looks of it, didn't have really enough people to go out and make sure that all the buildings were up to code. There's a lot of buildings there that are getting older, and you have to have inspectors come out and make sure that everything is up to code, and that the necessary repairs are done when they need to be done, because you have to remember there's hundreds of people living in those properties, right? But no one's, I would think that no one's really actively enforcing all of that, right? I mean, I know there's agencies for that, but you have to have a lot of people to go out and say, hey, you need to make sure you do this. You have to do this immediately. If you don't do this, you're going to have to move all your tenants into a hotel, which of course they're not going to do. And so there's a lot of buildings, I guess, not just in that area, but everywhere, that are, hey, they're 30, 40, 50, 60 years old, and maybe more, that have been neglected maybe, or need significant repairs. But it goes against the interests of the owners, right? A lot of the owners, maybe there's things that they could do, but they're not forced to do, and they don't do it because it's like, hey, we don't want to spend any money on that. We just want to have the highest possible investment, and as long as the renters are paying their rent, we don't want to spend millions of dollars to rehab the building. Of course, you never think that decision is going to result in what happened, but it's you know, if you're ignoring things that are pretty major, like there's big holes in places and stuff's, you know, rotting away, and I don't know all the specifics of it, but you know, you can see how something catastrophic could happen there. This bike is fun. So the sad part is that probably no one's going to be held accountable. Like the owners of the building had insurance. The families probably aren't going to be able to sue anyone. I mean, who are they going to sue? They're not going to be able to sue the owners of the building. They're not going to be able to sue the state. Well, they might be able to sue the state for not enforcing safety regulations, but I'm sure the state will try to get out of it. I mean, if there's 200 people that died, and basically they all died because of negligence, I mean, you're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars, potentially, that are going to have to be paid to all these families that, hey, I lost my dad, I lost my parents, I lost my son maybe, who was providing for me, or I lost, you know, 2 of my sisters. And not just the financial, but again, if you go into a courtroom, believe me, it's all about, and rightfully so, I guess, but hey, I no longer have the ability to, I don't have a family member anymore. They're gone, you know. They're gonna play the card of financial suffering or emotional suffering, and that's worth, you know, $1 million a day or whatever, right? Lawyers are crazy, they'll ask for it. So I don't know though. I doubt anyone's gonna say that they're responsible, because they don't want to be liable for the damages. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but it's just so unfortunate, especially when you saw kind of like most of the building collapse, and then like 10 seconds later the other part collapsed. And all you can really hope for there is just a quick end, which I'm sure it probably was, because that's a lot of concrete and a lot of force, all coming down at once. But stuff like that, you know, you see on the news, and I was surprised. I mean, because most of the time the political channels don't cover anything newsworthy. They just talk about politics. And now that Joe Biden's the president, you know, they don't really talk about politics anymore. They just talk about more newsworthy stuff, which I actually prefer that. But you know, when Trump's in office, they like to talk about how he's such a controversial guy, and then when Biden's in office, I literally haven't heard them talk about him once, because they actually talk about new stuff. So I think probably because, you know, Donald Trump was like someone that got a lot of views. He's a polarizing figure. Joe Biden is really not that exciting. He's, you know, if they talked about Joe Biden all day, no one would watch it. So they actually have to report the news, which is good. You know, I like Donald Trump. You know, I think he's interesting, but I don't want to hear about him all the time, right? I want to hear about like what's happening in the world if I go on the news. And about a year ago, and even actually for Trump's whole presidential term, all they talked about was Donald Trump, and like he's a bad guy, and all these scandals, and what's going to happen in 2020, and Trump's you know, against women, and he's racist, and he's a xenophobe or whatever. I don't even know half the words they're saying anymore. So, I mean, I don't really care, but I actually, you know, a great source of news is just the local news. I mean, they do a really good job of not being biased, and they just report all the crazy shit that's happening. I mean, it's crazy. You go on, I live in Seattle area, and man, there's just crazy shit happening every single day. Like, someone was shot, someone crashed their car into a building, you know, a building's on fire, like not even that far from where you live. Someone got caught like with their pants down peeing, and now they're in jail. It's just like crazy stories that are way more interesting than watching like Fox News or CNN or one of those channels, because they're areas that you're really familiar with, and then the stories are really funny. Like, a lot of the times it's just like crazy stuff going on, and they do a good job reporting on it. They don't usually they don't say anything one way or the other about it. You know, it's just, this happened, and let's get out to the reporter, and here's what they have to say, and they you know, they don't give a political spin. So, but it's also kind of depressing to watch it, because it's like, man, I never even, you know, someone got killed, someone burned to death, someone got shot, you know, someone is missing, you know, this person's car got burned on fire, or, you know, just bad stuff happening. It's usually not a lot of good stuff. So, I went to bed at like 8 o'clock last night, or 8:30. I woke up at like 4:30. So, 8 hours of sleep, I guess, but is that a cop behind me? No, it's not a cop. All those blacked out cars look like cops, though. I really don't have much to be nervous about, because even when I'm like going way faster than the speed limit, I'm usually only going just about as fast as other cars go. So it's not a big deal, really. Now, if I was on a different bike, it could be, because I'd be going literally 90, but that's not the case. I haven't made a video on a bike, and man, I don't think this whole year. Again, I usually don't get on my bike until like April. This year the weather really wasn't that great though. So usually May to about October is when you can ride here, but you know, even in July, I mean, look at this day, it's like incredibly overcast and it's kind of cold. So not the ideal summer day, but hey, it's better than being hot. Like 3 weeks ago it was like 115 degrees here, which I think was the highest ever recorded temperature in the Seattle area. I think maybe since like they've ever started recording it, 100-something years. And we don't have air conditioning here. It's not like a standard thing to have air conditioning here, so that felt really hot. It's almost as bad as it is in the winter. I mean, most places, like if you go to Arizona in the summer, it's almost like living here in the winter, because you can't really go outside, it's too cold. And Arizona's like the opposite. It's like, hey, it's nice outside and it's hot, but it's too hot, you can't go outside, right? There's like a heat wave. If you go outside, you could, you know, you're gonna get incredibly sunburned, and you're gonna be way too hot. It's 110 degrees outside. Here in Seattle, it's usually only gets to about, you know, 75 to 80 is like the typical summer day, which is like, it's perfect. That's why here, you know, the summers here are great, you know, from June to like even May can be okay, but it's still kind of rainy. But from June to the end of September or the middle of October, it's really nice. You get an occasional day like this where it's cloudy, but that's fine. This road is one of the most dangerous roads. I think I might have already said that, but there's no median here, and this thing is chock full of semis. There's a lot of deaths that happen on this road every year. Hopefully I'm not one of them.